in investment. These people look at certain fundamentals, which is what you have just said. Is there peace and security in that country? Is there infrastructure in that country? What are the pricing mechanisms if I want to go doing manufacturing? What is the cost of labor like? By the time
policy somersaults,
the consistencies, the respect for the rule of law, they must look at these 4 issues plus XX, where XX is like the attitude of the people, how welcoming they are. When they look at these things, they think a little differently like we think in Nigeria a lot of times. They think long term. They see 20 years. They see 50 years. But we see dispensations. The Bible says, let not your good be evil spoken of. Mr. President has something amazing about him. But we must be careful not to destroy the myth. That myth is that he has the capacity to look Nigerians in the eye and say, enough is enough. Let's restructure this country. Let's redo things such that a man coming outside will be happy to be here. He's looked at security. I agree with him 100%. But going out looking for investors, in my opinion, as necessary as it is like going to buy trains when the tracks have not been laid. I believe that one of the greatest things that Mr. President has and can give to us as a nation is to change the mindset of the people of Nigeria, the thinking, and he needs to be more with us. Then the second part is the president is like the king on a chessboard. You don't ever expose your king. Look around the world. Hardly do you find a president that goes to a particular country and spends more than 2 days. Hardly. There's a reason. Not every Tom, Dick, and Harry should be able to talk to my president. I have my ministers, I have my lieutenants, so boy talks to boy, president talks to president. When the boys have done their jobs, the president sits over a cup of tea, have a ceremony, and they sign the document, and they go. We must put our president in that place where we are so proud of him, and nobody demystifies him in any way. Every human being has his weaknesses. We must manage the strength of Mr. President and the weaknesses of Mr. President. Talk to me for a long time, you start to see the flaws in my life. But give me a short time, we are done and we're good to go. I believe that Mr. President is what we need. I didn't vote for him, but I'm happy he's here. And we need him, and we'll give him 110% to succeed. So let those of us that are closer, or let those of them that are closer to him, be fair enough to know when he should go out, when he should come back. He means well, but we cannot allow him to use that zeal to be overexposed. So I think that the first thing we should do is to ensure that the infrastructure on ground in the country is very good. When we do that, the investors know that this man has 4 years, maximum 8. And they looked at the past when we had war against indiscipline. As soon as the administration was over, it collapsed. We have to learn from the past and come back this time and know that the body language that everybody agrees and gives to Mr. President, that he's a no-nonsense person, we must find a way of institutionalizing that quality. When you talk of the Thomas Jeffersons and Abraham Lincoln, when you read through history, one of the things you'll see, including Hitler, is that they use their weight and might on their people, and they restructured their people, and word started going out. And people say, wow, if you go to America, man, the sanity, everything about America is so good, and everybody starts wanting to come in. I don't need to talk to you. A businessman smells, and wherever the opportunities are, he will do it. So let Mr. President do what he's doing, but in a limited version, and concentrate more on how he can rebuild Nigerians to rebuild Nigeria.
Mr. Kechuka, your party came with a change slogan, and you sold it and sold it and sold it.
And the country bought it and bought it and bought it.
But now, the citizens are wondering, where did all that go? I mean, you told us by the time you come in, this and that will happen. Okay? It's been denied several times. 5,000 naira for unemployed, for the unemployed, stipend for the unemployed, but which was said to will be going to, in terms of like investment, so we'll give it to you to go and work and make the money. Promises made to Nigerians. Within a month or thereabout, or within a certain period, the naira is going to be equal to the dollar. These were some of the promises that were made out there, whether it was by the leadership of the party or not. But these were things that Nigerians were hearing, seemingly, from your party. Some of them have been denied. How do you expect Nigerians to hold on to trust?
Thank you very much. As Ezekiel said earlier, there is what we call the high expectations.
But no communication.
But look at it this way. Let's start by what my friend said here. Mr. President is like the alter ego of any government. He leads the squad. And the change we're talking about is not about an earthquake. Because democracy, a lot of people normally misconstrue democracy as a revolution. It is not. It's evolutionary, incremental in growth. Because at the backdrop of every democracy, that is what it's called, is the rule of law. If Mr. President was to allow to spend Nigerian funds, he could have started all along to spend on capital projects. But the Constitution says there must be a budget. You cannot spend a dime that is not appropriated. He had to wait. What are the changes he has done? We've x-rayed it here. It might not be so sounding or a bang. We now know that the president can get ministers, submit a list of ministers to the National Assembly without spending a dime for them to be approved. It is a record history. So far, we've heard at a certain point where a lot of money was put on the table of the National Assembly, brought from the executive to be distributed. We've heard where 50,000 was distributed, 50 million. Accordingly, nobody had heard about that. Yes, you might not call it change. I met a friend the other day in a ministry, and he was telling the PAMSEC that he's not going to pay a dime for what he's looking for. And the man insisted. He showed the PAMSEC the letter he wrote to Mr. President about the debt they're owing him. Immediately, the PAMSEC went and brought out his file.
So what you're saying is that
a
letter written to the president,
what
is that what we want?
No, I'm coming now. I'm coming about
promises.
I'm coming about promises. I'm entering the promises lane. If you go through the budgets he submitted, 500 billion is on that budget. I was in Sweden, small-scale industry, medium-scale industry agency. What are they doing now? They are trying to do audit of all the vulcanizers, barbers, seamstress, tailors, plumbers, electricians across the country to have their data, their dates, their addresses, their phone numbers. And I was asking the DG, Diko, I said, what are you doing? He said, look, we want to village by village to know who is doing what in each village. So that by the time this 500 billion comes into use, instead of disbursing it in cash, you are looking for this lady that runs a small restaurant that requires a fridge of 50,000 naira. You buy the fridge for her. You look at the barber that is looking for what we call a pass my neighbor genset. You buy it for her. That their organogram is to appeal to Mr. President that it is not going to be doled out in cash. And luckily, he said he had also discussed with Mr. Vice President along the same line. All this might not come in a jiffy, but what we all know is that Mr. President visit, when he went around Chad on assumption of office, Cameroon, Niger, to know whether he can have a regional cooperation in the fight against Boko Haram. In our local parlance, That's what they call man talk. It's not what a minister can do for him. I do not think that Mr. President will continually start going around. The king of Saudi Arabia cannot just meet a minister. The same with G7. One of the first trips he made was that the G7 was meeting in Germany. And graciously enough, they invited him. Or he could have said, Mr. Vice President, Mr. Minister of Foreign Affairs, go and meet G7. I don't think it will be continuous, but he needs to open the door. If you go to the Chinese red carpet, and you are talking of Mambila power station, a hydropower station that produces 4,000 megawatts of electricity, and irrigates thousands of hectares of land. And it's been on jigsaw puzzle between the federal government of Nigeria and the previous regimes, and you don't go yourself. You don't go yourself, especially with his own political capital, which is the trust people have on him.
Mr. Kechuku, the question I asked, you see, you gave an example about a man. Hold on.
I'm telling you.
No, you give an example. You've answered the question.
We cannot spend without budget.
Okay.
And but you know that most of you are making a mistake? You do not ask what somebody like the governor of Kaduna State is doing in Kaduna. Everything is on federal level. Nothing is happening. You do not ask what they are doing in Nasarawa. You do not ask what they are doing in the
Are they not your party members? So tell us what they are doing. They are your party members. Mr. Ezekiel talked about the party creating a vision that its members are coming to fulfill. And then you hold them accountable. What are they doing to meet up with the change? You've just talked about the president. And I asked the question,
yes.
Is it about the president? Does that man have to show a letter he wrote to the president? What's happening in the state?
You know why it's about the president? If you now know that if you become a president tomorrow, you can get approval in the National Assembly without bribing anybody. It's the way forward. If you now know that if there's a tender system that is obeyed, because there have been tenders. Don't forget about that. There have been tenders. But tender system that is obeyed.
You're still talking about president. What's happening in your state?
I'm talking of the collective. The collective of both the state level. The collective, yes. Watch it out. Try and do a narrow study of what's going on.